Welcome to this platform once again. This is the Adonis Studio. Guys, you people are family here. You are not fan, you are family. If you want to be part of this family, just do me a favor by subscribing to this channel. Let's dive right into the details. The Sahel states has existed. They have existed the ICC, which is the International Criminal Court of Justice. Now, let's look at what is currently happening. In the landmark announcement in the late September 2025, three West African military-led nations, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, members of the Alliance of the Sahel States, AES, declared their withdrawal from the International Criminal Court, ICC. They decried the court as an instrument of neo-colonial repression and expressed a desire to reclaim more judicial sovereignty. This move marks a major shift in international justice, regional alignment, and the evolving relationship between the Sahel and the global institution. These three countries issued a joint statement asserting that the ICC has proven itself incapable of addressing and prosecuting proven war crimes, crimes against humanity, genocide, and crimes of aggression. They criticized the ICC for selective justice and biases, especially pointing to what they perceive as disproportionate scrutiny of weaker or often formerly colonized states, while more powerful actors avoid accountability. Their statement called the ICC a tool of neo-colonial repression in the hands of imperialism. The nations also announced their intent to build indigenous mechanisms for the consolidation of peace and justice. In other words, courts or justice systems that are local, possible regional, rather than relying on external international institutions. To understand the move fully, it helps to create it in political, historical, legal, and security contents. Here are the main reasons driving the withdrawal of the AES. The AES states argue that the ICC disproportionately targets African countries or leaders, especially weaker ones. They see international justice as unevenly distributed, while they haven't always pointed to specific cases in every claim. The sentiment is strong. This is justice administered or interpreted through a lens that favors powerful nations or interests, particularly after military coups in Mali in 2020, Burkina Faso in 2022, and Niger in 2023. The ruling juntas have pushed back against what they considered external interference, ties with regional bodies like ECOWAS, with former colonial powers and with international institutions have steadily framed. Withdrawing from the ICC aligns with their broader aim of asserting decision-making control. The AES leaders want systems that see as more legit, more attuned to local contexts, and not subject to what they regard as prejudiced international oversight. They have floated plans for a Sahelian criminal and human rights court, or similarly named body, which would handle serious crimes, human rights violations, etc. This could be their alternative to the ICC. All three countries are deeply involved in fighting Islamist-linked insurgencies, as well as managing internal instability. In those conflicts, both state forces and non-state actors have been accused of human rights abuses. The national governments likely view external investigations, especially ones that might lead to international prosecution, as complicating their security operations or limiting their ability to act without fear of legal repressal. So withdrawal may offer more operational leeway. The Sahel states have been distancing themselves from Western partners, especially former colonial powers such as France. They have been seeking new security, diplomatic, and economic partners. Russia is one such partner increasingly in new view. Withdrawing from the ICC fits into broader pattern of rejecting Western-led or Western-oriented institutions and asserting more independent or alternative alliances. For military juntas, legitimacy is always fragile, framing the ICC as an external opposition or a tool of imperialism play world domestically among populations that feel exploited or overshadowed by external powers. It's a way to rally nationalist sentiment to frame the regime as defending their country's dignity. Under the Rome Statute, which established the ICC, a state's withdrawal becomes effective 1 year after the notification to the UN Secretary General. So while the announcement is immediate, the legal exit is not instantaneous. Importantly, withdrawal does not absolve a state from obligation for actions that occurred before the withdrawal becomes effective. In other words, if crimes happened while the country was still a party, the ICC retains jurisdictions over those implications. This move may carry several consequences: legal, political, human rights related, diplomatic, and regional. For victims and accountability, human rights groups warn this could undermine accountability for crimes unless the local or regional alternative is robust, independent, and trusted. If national courts are weak, politicized, under-resourced, or biased, impunity may increase. Regional justice alternative: the success of any indigenous or regional court will depend on design, fairness, or independence, resources, capability, and whether it is insulated from political interference. There is always the risk that such system becomes tools of the ruling regime rather than instrument of impartial justice. Withdrawal may strain relations with Western states, international donors, and human rights institutions. It will reduce diplomatic goodwill, foreign aid, or cooperation, particularly in regions like Sahel, where external support is significant for security and humanitarian operations. The actions may inspire similar moves by other states who share similar grievances, claims of biases, colonial legacy, limited agencies. We may see further weakening of international judicial institutions or demands for reforms. The ICC may face challenges to its legitimacy, how it handles accusations of selectivity, how it responds to criticism, whether it adapts. There are also questions whether withdrawing state criticism will force the international reforms or lead to further popularization. Coup regimes consolidated power. Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger came under military rule via coups between 2020 and 2023. Over the past months and years, these regimes have been consolidating power, resisting external oversight, and redefining alliances. This move seems like a natural progression in that trajectory. There have been increasing political and popular rhetoric against the colonial legacies, foreign interventions, perceived double standards, the withdrawal from ECOWAS, distancing from France, and all part of that momentum. Of course, this is not without major risks or unknowns. Can AES stands build credible judicial bodies that satisfy both domestic legitimacy and international human rights standards? Will withdrawal reduce external oversight to the point that abuses go unchecked? How will other international actors respond, both in criticism and in practical impact, aid, cooperation, and sanctions? How will this affect dialogue, peace, negotiation, counter-terrorism efforts, which often involve international partners and legal frameworks? The withdrawal of Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger from the ICC is not just a legal or symbolic act, it's a statement of direction. It reflects a broader rebalancing of power in the Sahel, a deep skepticism of international oversight perceived as biased, and a drive to reclaim sovereignty and regional control over justice and security. Whether this path yields a more just, stable, and secure Sahel, or whether it opens the door to further abuses and isolation, will depend on how seriously the AES states commit in practice to transparent accountability and effective alternatives. What do you guys think about the withdrawal of the AES states from the International Criminal Court of Justice? Whatever it thinks, drop your opinion in the comment section. Thank you for watching this channel.